Hello and welcome to the instruction video for the Shapeoko 4 and the Shapeoko Pro JTech laser kits. The same laser kit fits on both the 4 and the Pro because they're basically the same machine. The Pro just has the linear rails. The rest of the hardware is exactly the same. So we're going to go into the details here of what's in the kit. The kit should include a laser driver, which is the black box here. It will include a laser head. This one is the Shapeoko, or this is the JTech 7-watt Pro pictured here. It will have a power adapter. It will have extension cables, 10-foot extension cables to go from the laser driver all the way up through the gantry. It will have a pair of goggles. If you ordered the high resolution lens, which I recommend for the 7-watt and the higher powers, then it will have the standard lens in a little bag. We already installed inside the kit the high resolution lens and pre-focused it for you. We'll also have a mounting kit with instructions in it, little paper instructions. We'll have the cable and the press fit kit for connecting up the input signal from the carbide board. It will have some zip ties and plastic, the foam sticky pads, and some zip tie holders. Have some stickers, and also have a focusing tool in here, and it will have a mount. There's two different mounts to choose from. The standard mount is going to be orientated to be in line with the Y, or actually the X. The X will be exactly the same. You just have to adjust it in Y. The side mount will be placed on the side, and it'll come with two M5 screws, and that will be orientated in this direction, which is the X direction. So you only have to move it that way. So we're going to go into some details on how to install this now. All right, so the first thing we're going to do on the JTech laser install for the Shapeoko 4 and Shapeoko Pro is find the carbide board. This is going to be the electronics control board for your machine that's going to talk to the laser driver and tell it to turn on and off. So in order to gain access to this, we're going to use these 4 thumb screws on each side. And make sure the machine is turned off before doing all this. So I'm just going to unscrew these thumb screws on each side and gain access to the carbide board. So pull this cover off, and inside you'll see the carbide board, and I'll show you where we need to hook up right now. All right, so we've opened up the carbide board, and there's going to be 2 places on this board that we can connect to. The first place is going to be these gold connections right over on the left-hand side. The top ones are going to be the ground and PWM. Notice that there are no connectors in that. We have provided a press fit connector if you choose to use those connections. The other connection over here is going to be the ICSP connector, and it is going to be over to the right, and it's a header over here that you can also connect it to that has pins on it. In some cases you might already have an accessory connected to one of those places, so it's great that we have 2 to choose from. Alright, so let's get started connecting it. Okay, so let's grab our small bag with our input cable, our Shapeoko press fit kit, and so it's going to have in it the cable that goes from the carbide board over to the laser driver, and it's also going to have this little bag that has a press fit tool in it and a 2-pin connector that we're going to be using to connect into the PWM and ground connection gold plates over there. So let's show you that next. All right, so take your 2-pin connector, and you'll notice that there's going to be a long side to it and a short side to it. The long side is going to be the one that the pins are going to connect to, and the short side has the pins are a little bit thicker, and those are what's going to press in here. So what we're going to do is we're going to put it into the top one that says ground and PWM, and notice that they stop right there. So we're going to leave it there, and we're going to use the push tool to just slightly press it in. Until you hear it kind of pop in, and when it's there, you notice that it won't pop out. There's going to be a little teeny pop in there, and that means it's set in just perfectly. So now we're ready to connect a cable to it. All right, so now we're going to take our cable, and you can see the one end has the small 2-pin DuPont connector on it, this side. And you're going to see that it has a red and a black side to it. It's going to go with the black to the top there on the ground, and the red's the PWM. So when you put it in, you need to orientate it with the black on the top and the red on the bottom. And there you go. So it's going to have the black on the top, red on the bottom for the PWM. All right, now that we got that in the press fit, you can just take this cable and put it with this other bundle and zip tie it so that it goes out nicely when you put your cover back on. If you don't want to put it in the press fit, or you already have something in that press fit, then let's show you exactly where it should go on the other side. So over on the right-hand side, there is going to be an IC SP connector. It's going to have 6 pins. It's going to have 3 on each side, 2 rows of 3. And we're going to show you exactly how to connect to that. All right, so we're zoomed in on that IC SP connection, and we're going to be putting the cable onto the left-hand side of the connector here. The left-hand side is going to be closer to the label that says IC SP. On the top left, it's going to be black, and on the middle left, it's going to be red. So the ground, which is the black cable, you can see the black on the end of the DuPont. You're going to put that up to the top, and the red is going to go into the middle of that left-hand side of the ICSP connector, sorry. So I'm going to plug that in right now. Just push that into the left-hand side, and there it is attached, and you can do the same thing as I showed you before, and just put the cable in the cable chain here in the middle. Okay, so now that we've gotten the cable connected to one of those 2 locations, I'm going to zip tie it to our motors assembly cables so that it doesn't get moved around. And clip that off real quick, do little clips. And I'm going to then take the carbide board cover and put it back on with the thumb screws. All right, now that we've gotten those thumb screws all tightened back up and the cover back on, ready to go on to the next step. All right, so next step is to go find the extension cables, the 10-foot laser and fan extension cables, and we're going to put these all the way from the gantry through the cable chain and back towards the carbide board. So let's take them out of the bag. This is important. This next step is important. You need to start them on this side with enough room so that your laser can connect over here, and make sure you use the right side of the cable. So look at the laser and see what connectors it has on this side, and let's look at the laser connector, the cable, extension cable. So we're going to want to have this side, this female plug placed over here, somewhere around right here on the gantry to connect with the laser when you want to have it plugged in. And the fan, same one, same kind of idea, is that you want to have this female side so it can connect up to the laser like so. So we're going to start getting these cables routed from the gantry up. All right, so we're going to leave this side up here, and we're going to go through the cable chain that goes all the way and back over to this side where the carbide board is. So I'm going to take this side of it, and I'm going to start feeding it through. You can either take off these cable chains or try to feed them through. I'm going to try feeding them through just because I think it's kind of hard to take off all these little tops of the cable chain. So I'm just going to push it through. And success on that cable. So we got this cable all the way through, and we'll leave just enough of this cable so that we can zip tie it to something up here, and we'll just leave that on the machine at all times. All right. So now we're going to take the fan extension cable, which is a smaller wire, and we're going to put this side through as well. So let's start doing that. You can kind of press it down as you're pushing so it doesn't get stuck. All right, so it's a little bit harder to get this cable through, but it will get through. You can use some tweezers or something, a little tool, so you can grab it, kind of pull it along its way. If you still rather have opened it up, I would suggest you open it up first and then do both the cables at the same time. This fan one's going to be a little bit harder because it's not as thick to get all the way through. So I'm just using a little tool to kind of push along the way. Okay, now take it and do the same thing with this side and pull enough out so that you just leave enough to connect the laser fan on the side right behind the gantry right here. All right, now let's move on to the next thing. Just remember, sometimes a handy little tweezer helps out. Okay, now we're going to grab our JTech laser driver. It's going to have some connections on the back. The connection on the end here is going to be for the laser. The one in the middle that has a black dot or a black line is going to be for the carbide board input. And then there's going to be a power connector, and the next one next to the power is going to be the fan, that small JST. So let's connect them up. We're going to take our extension wires that we just ran through, the thick cable that has the Molex on it is going to be the laser. That is going to go into the outside Molex. That's the laser one there. The small cable from the carbide board that we installed is going to have a black Molex connector on it. You can see that it has a black Molex connector on it. That's going to go into the next Molex connector that has the black dot on it. So black goes into black dot. Next is going to be our power. Our power connector is going to go into the only place it fits into. And then we have our fan connector. Our fan connector goes into the JST connector right next to the fan. Or sorry, right next to the power. So just to recap, it is laser, carbide board input, then power, then fan. Laser, input, power, fan. Make sure that these are exactly like that. If you have these two connected backwards, you will cause damage to your carbide board. Make sure the black is going into the middle one here with the black dot or the black line, and the one that is just clear and white is going to the one on the outside that's clear and white. All right, so now that we got those connected, we can clean up our cables if you want. We included some zip ties and things for cable management. If you want, you could mount it, the laser driver, onto the side here. We included some sticky pads. You could drill it out if you want to. In my case, I think I'm just going to leave it on the side of the machine and have it on the side of the machine so I can get to it a little bit easy. I'm just going to probably leave it something similar to that. You can always put it to the front of your machine so it has a lot of access. All the cables are plenty long enough for you to be able to put it anywhere on that side that you want. All right, so we're going to show the two different mounts we have. Right now we have the Sweepy Dust Boot on the machine already installed, and there's going to be two mounts. There's going to be the front standard mount and the side dust boot mount. And the difference between the two is that the front standard mount is going to have this dust boot taken off because it mounts right in front of the router. The nice thing about this is that it's perfectly aligned with the bit in this direction so that you only have an offset in one direction. And it's in the front so you won't be able to hit it on anything. There's nothing in the front of the machine for you to bang it into. It's not that hard to put on, it's just these two screws on the top that you have to get to. So it comes on and off pretty easily. The side dust boot mount can have the dust boot stay on all times, and it's going to go and attach to the side here. Let's show you how to attach the both of these mounts. This one's going to basically attach to the side, and this other one's going to attach to the front. Alright, so to attach the standard, we're going to take off the dust boot mount. The screws, there's going to be 4 screws on here. The bottom one should already be tightened pretty much all the way. Those are going to be the ones you're going to be resting on, so you can tighten them if they're not already tightened all the way. They're going to be resting on the bottom of those. There's going to be 2 alignment holes in here, and then the top ones should be unscrewed just enough so you can get it on. It's going to slide on the front like this, and you're going to hold it in and going to just turn it a little bit until you feel that one go, and then you can feel this one go. So you want to do just a little on each one so that you get it equal and even, so that the bottom and the top of the mount lock in. You're going to feel it kind of come to the back and lock in after a few turns here of your M3 screwdriver. So if you get an M3 driver, then it will come on and it will be nice and hard, and you can see when you put your laser on it, your magnetic mount laser, that it will attach right in the front, and it will be in line perfectly with your router bit in this direction, in the forward direction. It will be equal, so it will be in that line. So all you need to do is move it in Y to have your offset. You're only going to have an offset in Y. So if you want to take it off, it's pretty easy to take off. You can just undo these screws a little bit, and it should pop right off. Then we can show you how you can do the dust boot mount. So if you had your dust boot on, you want to leave your dust boot on all the time, then you can simply take this side mount. It's going to have 2 M515 screws, and we're going to put them into the side holes. Here. The advantage of this mount is that you can leave it on all the time. No worries about the dust boot, no worries about it hitting anything while the machine's running. It's there. You can leave the dust boot on it. It won't harm the router or anything like that. And when you want to put the laser on, you can simply attach it just like that, and it lasers. The only downside on this one is that you have the ability to hit it against the side. We've tested it out, and it's not that big of a deal, but just be aware of the crashing on that side. But when the laser is off of it, you have no problems at all. So the side mount's actually a pretty good mount. It also has it lined up perfectly in this direction, in the X direction, so you only need to you don't need to move Y back and forth to orient it. All you need to do is have an offset in X. So either way you go, you only have an offset in one of the axes, either X or Y. The dust boot can have the dust boot stay on all the time. The standard one is in the front and is easy to take on and off. All right, so we have this side mount laser mounted. You can take the cables and use the zip ties and curl them up if you want and clean them up. But they are going to attach to these extension cables in the back. So we're going to attach the fan and the laser when we want to use them. So that's a simple, easy way to connect your laser when you want to use it. You can zip tie it and have the cables back here. when you're using a laser. But basically that's how it's going to look like when you have it on. And let's turn on the laser driver. All right, so we're going to turn on our laser driver now. The first thing you're going to want to do is take your key and put it into the laser driver and turn it all the way to the right. And then you're going to make sure your little switch in the front, your mode switch, is over to the input mode, which is towards the LEDs like we talked about earlier in the video. And now since the laser driver has only been powered on 0 times, there is no power was applied to it. So every time this loses power, you need to hit this red reset button. The red reset button will hit and then you'll hear a click and then you can turn on the power. And so you should see one green LED on it and the fan should be running here and the fan also should be running in the laser driver. So, or on the laser head itself. So remember, if you ever lose power, then you always have to turn the key to the right, press the red reset button. When the red reset button gets pressed, then you have power again to your laser driver. You can always turn off the power also with the switch, and that's how you do the power. All right. So there's a whole nother video on how to set up light burn for the Shapeoko 4 and Shapeoko Pro. It's going to be in the instructions page right below this video on how to do the hardware. But let's just jump ahead and see how a first project would run. So let's press start. For more information, check out jtechphotonics.com.